Yes. So we've just rolled 6 o'clock. So there'll probably be a few other people join and we'll let them in as they come. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the SecureEnergy Supply Chain Opportunity Briefing, dated for August 2021. The briefing relates to subcontractor opportunities on the EnergyConnect project. This is the second of 3 sessions that we're running. We had one this morning and we have another one tomorrow morning. You only need to attend one session. Each of the 3 sessions will be identical. EnergyConnect is a TransGrid project with a registered Australian industry participation plan, and this briefing is part of the SecureEnergy commitment to full, fair and reasonable. The session is being recorded, so if you do need to go off and do something else during the session, or you can't stay for the whole session, then the session is being recorded and it'll be distributed along with other information across our website, as well as through some of our partners, some of whom we'll meet a bit later in the presentation. If you need to ask a question, please use the Q&A function on the screen, and the questions will be collated and moderated during the presentation. They'll be answered where they can be as the presentation goes on, but we have left enough time at the end of the presentation so that if there's any questions that are unanswered, we'll be able to discuss those and make sure that we get you the appropriate answer. Just as a note, this is a supplier information session for Australian, local and Indigenous suppliers, and we'll only be answering questions on industry participation. Questions relating to the environment, the approvals or the broader community and construction matters won't be responded to in this presentation. Matters relating to the human resources team, the human resources team will be providing more information on employment at a later stage. And if you're looking for jobs, there will be jobs available through the website. Finally, if you haven't subcontracted to a major project before, then this session will have quite a lot of information for you. And one of the things that you can take away from this presentation about how to engage with us and what's coming up is about our safety culture, and it's industry practice to discuss and make sure that we've got good safety processes and practices, and we start each meeting with the discussion around safety. On that note, I do know that it's the end of the day, and lots of people have probably already had a full day's work and a full day of meetings where you've probably been engaged with the computer and headsets and the like already. I just remind you not to get lost in your headset. Take a break if you need one. Stand up if you need to, and just make sure that you stay safe and healthy, and don't let this add to another hour and a half for your day of sitting in meetings. I just remind everybody, I think most people are on mute anyway, but if you're not, can you, depends on how you came into the meeting, just make sure that we're on mute. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mark Cunningham, our Indigenous Participation Manager for SecureEnergy.
Thanks, Adrian. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Aboriginal land today. I would like to recognise the strength, resilience and the capacity of the traditional owners of the lands that we're on. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and I recognise and respect the cultural heritage, beliefs and the relationship to the land, which continues to be important to Aboriginal people today. Back to you, Adrian.
Thank you, Mark. It's important to note that Indigenous engagement is part of our culture at SecureEnergy, and our client has set us a contracted Indigenous target to make sure. So please make sure that any of you that are listening and are participating today that are majority owned Indigenous businesses, that you identify yourself during the registration processes. My name's Adrian Whiting. I'm the local industry participation manager for SecureEnergy. I started with the project almost a month ago, and I'll be running through this presentation today. But joining me, as you just heard, is Mark Cunningham, our Indigenous Participation Manager. We've also got on the line Bhavin Desi, who's our local industry participation officer, and also running the Q&A for us this afternoon is Carmen Marshall, our engagement manager. For those of you who may have been engaged with the project previously, or you've had dealings with the project so far, Ben Hughes, our local industry advisor, is also on the call today, and he'll be available at the end to help us get through the questions and answers that we can't that don't get answered as we go through the presentation. We'll also be joined today by Mr. Jeff Reardon from ICN. You'll hear from him a bit later. ICN's a key partner and's been helping the project over the last little while to engage with local industry across the project area. So in the left-hand column there, you'll see our agenda for the day. We'll break it up into three sections. So just a little bit of introduction in those first 5 points. Then ICN will give us the ICN presentation, and then point 7 to 11 there we'll just run through how you'd pre-qualify, what's right for you, what can you expect from the business, the process, and then we'll have time at the end for questions. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see a number of logos there. They are key partners that we've been working with across the project, Regional Development Australia Murray and Regional Development Australia Riverina, as well as the Mildura Regional Development Group, and Business New South Wales, who has connections for us with the various chambers across the region that we're operating in, and of course ICN. We'd also like to acknowledge the National Indigenous Australians Agency, who have also been a working partner with us, but we weren't able to use their logo today. So making sure that we, as a project that's bound by Commonwealth requirements, we need to have regional partners as important in making sure that we develop good relationships and understandings of local industry as we move forward. This, of course, was originally set to be a roadshow, and we would have been out in your local area meeting with you. We would have been meeting with your local chambers and your local industry groups. So I would like to acknowledge that this makes it feel a little bit different, but it's still important that we acknowledge and engage with those groups throughout our region. As I discussed, Regional Development Australia, Murray and Riverina are important partners, and I would just like to introduce Rachel Whiting now to offer some welcome. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Adrian, for the introduction, and thank you also to Mark for the acknowledgement of country. Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Whiting, CEO of Regional Development Australia Riverina, and I'm here today also representing Edwina Hayes from RDA Murray, and Edwina is on the video too. RDAs are not-for-profits, non-government organisations who work to deliver economic development in 53 regions around Australia. We have voluntary boards with local people passionate about the region and chairs who are appointed by Minister Nola Marino. Minister Marino has set an energetic tone and focused RDAs on developing local procurement opportunities, jobs and investment. RDA Murray and Riverina have a great track record of bringing people together to facilitate community, business and industry development to bring more investment into the region from the Snow East to the South Australian border. We each have specific workforce and local procurement initiatives and would be pleased to discuss your needs and ideas to make the most of this project in our region. SecureEnergy is a nationally significant project with hundreds of millions of dollars being invested in infrastructure in our region, which will enable the growing use of renewable energy across Australia. We are committed to you to ensure our region benefits as much as possible from this investment. Please feel welcome to contact myself on 0429 444 213 at Regional Development Australia Riverina, or Edwina Hayes at RDA Murray on 0427 267 753. You can also find us on social media under our full names, Regional Development Australia Riverina Murray. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you, Rachel. So as we move into the presentation now, we just this safe harbour slide, we just need to show this and just understand that, you know, in the current COVID and current business environment, things may change as we go forward. The information that we're giving to you today is as complete as it can be for today, but there may be other factors going forward. You can come back and look at this recording, so you know the information will be available, but it just makes clear that you know, we're presenting information for you with the best of our knowledge, and you need to understand that if you make any business decisions to contribute to the project, to invest your time and resources pursuing work with SecureEnergy, that you need to make sure that your business understands and considers a range of factors in doing so. So what's EnergyConnect? TransGrid, the electricity transmission operator in New South Wales, and Electronet, electricity distributor in South Australia, are currently progressing planning approvals and associated activities for the construction and operation of a new electrical interconnector and network support options between New South Wales and South Australia. The interconnector is aimed at reducing the cost of providing secure and reliable electricity transmission between New South Wales and South Australia in the near term, while facilitating the longer term transition of energy sector across the national electricity market to low emission energy sources. The current preferred option involves construction of a high voltage electricity interconnector of approximately 700 kilometres between the power grids of South Australia, starting at Robertstown, and New South Wales, finishing in Wagga Wagga, known collectively as EnergyConnect. EnergyConnect has been identified as a priority transmission project in the New South Wales Transmission Infrastructure Strategy, linking South Australia and New South Wales energy markets and assisting in transporting energy from the Southwest Energy Zone to major demand centres. So that's just a bit about the project. There's a map that just shows where it's going to go. So the parts of the picture there that we're interested in are from the South Australian border that small piece down into Victoria and all the way across to Wagga. The project is starting at the western end and will work back from the South Australian side back towards Wagga. So who is SecureEnergy joint venture? So SecureEnergy joint venture is a joint venture between Clough and Elecnor, two global leaders with the local knowledge in delivering engineering, procurement and construction projects for the power infrastructure industry. SecureEnergy, on behalf of TransGrid, will build EnergyConnect, a 700-kilometre overhead electricity transmission line and one of the nation's largest energy infrastructure projects. Elecnor is a global leader in high voltage transmission and substation EPC, with nearly 60 years of continuous growth and a presence in more than 50 countries. Elecnor's performance has become a benchmark in the infrastructure, renewable energy and technology sectors. Since 2014, Elecnor has proven a commitment to Australia, completing multiple projects across the country. Clough is an engineering and construction company founded in Australia in 1919. The company successfully delivers challenging, high-performing assets for the energy, infrastructure and resources industries, underpinned by a dedication to problem solving and getting the job done safely and efficiently. Providing EPC services, the Clough team delivers zero harm project and has worked on some of the world's largest and most technologically and logistically challenging projects. We have a website. You can see it there, secureenergyjv.com.au. Now that website will be live tomorrow. It's just a few finishing touches going on with the website, and you'll be able to go there and you'll be able to learn more about Elecnor and Clough, and be able to have a look at updates from the project, news and opportunities that may become available through the course of the project. So the SecureEnergy joint venture has had an active role in new energy development and contestability analysis. There's a large scale equipment is already being sought. There's a number of activities that Australia doesn't manufacture equipment for as part of this project. And so there has been some time spent over the last year working with key stakeholders to see where the project and industry development can occur for these large scale equipments within Australia. We'd like to particularly acknowledge the Australian Steel Institute and New South Wales Treasury for their support in helping us to identify industry capability and competition that may already exist or be available to be developed within Australia. And we've already undertaken a number of site tours of local industrial facilities in Albury and Wagga areas. The SecureEnergy remains committed to knowledge sharing about this exciting new industry, making sure that we're unbundling packages to ensure that we can have the maximum amount of regional engagement and manufacturing for components and construction that's possible over the course of the project. There'll be continuing and ongoing work in the procurement, construction and substation teams in the next 6 months or so to make sure that we unbundle those packages to enable maximum engagement. Some of the packages that are already available and expressions of interest have been and are up with ICN as the earth moving and fencing works, civil construction works, camp services, haulage and cartage, logistics and inventory management, substation construction, assembly and mechanical installation. And as you'll see on a future slide, there's a number of other activities that will come in the next 12 months or so that we'll be able to engage with people and let you know about. So the procurement look ahead, you can see in that first point there that since February 2020, we've been working on Australian industry participation plans. We've done an initial market intelligence, which TransGrid did, and then the project has done one with ICN in December 2020. And we've started doing onboarding of local industries. We've already got about 1,200 suppliers that have registered on ICN as being interested in being able to see what's going on the project. So that's some great initial work. Now we've got the roadshows happening. As I said, there's ICN Gateway packages that are being released. There's a number of packages that will come out in the next month or so on top of the ones that are there already. We'll be working with suppliers on giving them feedback and the pre-qualifications, and Jeff will talk to us shortly about that process and how you can engage with us through ICN. And then towards the end of this year, we'll see the packages for the larger civil works and the start of the construction works become available for people to see. And then as we get into 2022, there'll be a significant period for activity, and we'll be able to get into starting to understand the requirements for assembly and installation. And those will help develop across the market throughout 2022. So what I'd like to do now is we'll hand over to Jeff. Jeff's just going to run us through how you can interact with ICN and the important information that ICN delivers to us.
Thanks, Adrian. Welcome everybody. Great to be part of this exciting project in the region. I'm based in Wagga Wagga, just for your information. So I am a local and have a particular interest in supporting businesses across the corridor. Tonight we're going to cover a couple of things. Firstly, briefly on how to register on the ICN Gateway, the process of submitting an expression of interest. And I'm going to talk about a new concept called the mid-tier supplier panel, where that'll be a process that will help businesses develop their capability to support both this but also other projects that'll be coming across the region over about the next 10 years. So we can jump to the next slide. All right, so for those who don't know about it, ICN was funded in 1985 in New South Wales. We're funded by the New South Wales government. We're a not-for-profit, and essentially what we are is a matchmaking service for business. So what we seek to do is to link buyers and suppliers, really to support the small and medium enterprises, to create opportunity, to help propagate employment, and give everybody an opportunity to make a quid. If we can go to the next slide, would be great. So what do we actually do? Well, in the case of SecureEnergy joint venture, we assist them to identify capable local businesses, Indigenous businesses, and social enterprises. We do that through a number of mechanisms, one being the ICN Gateway, where we'll publish the work packages that Adrian has just talked about. And from there, seek an expression of interest from you. We'll do some supply chain mapping, and I've already been working with the project to give them a bit of a roundup of the businesses across the region and the type of capability that they have. And through these types of sessions, supply briefing sessions. And I estimate that Adrian and I will be doing a number of these as the project moves forward over the next coming period. So for you guys, the suppliers, what we do is we try to keep you informed about the projects and how to position yourself to supply for those project opportunities. We support businesses to create company profiles, and we help to register an expression of interest against those opportunities. And there'll be some more stuff that we'll talk about in terms of support to businesses in just a little while. If we could go to the next slide, that would be great. All right, for those who are unaware, that is our web address for you to create a profile if you don't already have one. On the SecureEnergy joint venture website, there is a downloadable document there. It's a guide to setting up your ICN Gateway profile, or even to optimize it. If you've already got one, it's really critical, if you already have one, to make sure that that ICN Gateway profile really clearly articulates the capabilities of your business. I often say to people, this is a marketing document. You want to make it as attractive as possible, short, succinct, but with all the detail in it. So when we're throwing it in front of somebody, that they look at it and they go, hey, wow, this company is worth having a chat to. So what we'll also do here through the ICN Gateway, we'll aggregate all of your expressions of interest and we'll provide those through to the project at the time of close of those EOI process, and we'll help them evaluate those EOIs as well. If we go to the next slide. Now, here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. So we'll be working with the SecureEnergy joint venture to promote the packages on the Gateway. Businesses wishing to be considered for a complete work package will need to submit an EOI on the ICN Gateway. There'll be a brief pre-qualification questionnaire that you'll need to complete to determine the capability to perform the works. It will be very important, as I said, that the company profiles are up to date and clearly articulate the capability of the business. Next slide, please. For those who are unaware, there's a, if you can see on the screen there, that is the work package page on ICN Gateway that links to the EnergyConnect SecureEnergy joint venture page. You'll see there's a little button that says Create EOI, just in the center of the page under full scope EOIs. Adrian did mention he gave me another work package to pop up this afternoon for coach services or buses. So there's an additional one on there today. If we could go to the next slide. Now, something new that we'll be assisting the project with, and the project will be providing us feedback to help us develop businesses across the corridor to improve their level of capability to serve these projects. So the mid-tier supplier panel is what we're calling it. Will be a resource created for this and other upcoming projects. It'll give opportunity for local companies to access the project by working either directly for SecureEnergy or for one of the primary contractors engaged. It seeks to support and promote the skills and capability as a resource pool for companies need to subcontract parts of their work to local contractors. If we can go to the next page. Bit of detail on this. Companies wishing to apply for the mid-tier supplier panel can do so by completing a partial scope against the relevant work package on ICN Gateway. So that's a partial scope. So currently there isn't any of those listed. Over the next couple of days, there'll be partial scopes added to the appropriate scopes that are up there. Now, in addition to applying for the work package, the process will help determine your company's readiness for the project, your geographic area of interest, and will allow the project to identify what assistance could be provided to ensure your company is ready for this project, but also other projects that may arise in a region. The prospective suppliers will be required to address some of SecureEnergy's pre-qual requirements. The pre-qual includes questions relating to financial well-being, safety, quality, industrial relations, and as I said, that'll help us determine what assistance could be made available. Once a business meets the pre-qualification criteria, it'll be placed into the mid-tier supplier panel, which will be accessible to the primary contractors when seeking subcontractors. Additionally, those companies will have access to a central communications portal managed by ourselves at ICN for information about training, resources, RFT, RFQ announcements, etc. Some of the support that we're talking about will be linking you with the business connect providers, service providers, the BECs, and also giving you information in terms of what legal services, accounting services are in your region, so you may access. If we could go to the next slide, please. That's my contact details. I'm happy for anybody to reach out to me. That's why I'm here. So probably best, as I can say, as a result of today, flick me an email in the first instance. My phone hasn't stopped since we did the session at about 9 o'clock this morning. I guarantee you I will respond to you in a very timely manner. Just articulate what you need, flick me an email. If there's anything I can do to assist, I'll reach out to you and I'll help you through the process. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jeff. That was great. So what we'll work through now is just a bit of information for pre-qualification and how pre-qualification works. Is pre-qualification right for you? You need to make a conscious choice whether you want to work for SecureEnergy and a project of our size. You need to understand the costs of tendering for a major project. If you want to do business with the project, you need to be easy to find. You need to be online. That's why we've been talking to everybody about using the ICN Gateway. So you need to make sure that your business is registered on the ICN Gateway so that you can receive notices when we put the EOIs up, and just keep an eye on ICN to be able to see where the project's up to. You need to be cost competitive. You need to make sure that you get professional advice and support. Just because you're local doesn't mean that you will get the work. Yes, we have to be fair and reasonable, and everyone has to have equal access, but we are an Australian significant project, so you need to make sure that you are competitive in that space. Make sure you understand the contract that you may enter into if you are successful and get through the process. Make sure that you have appropriate support and advice in the legal space, as Jeff just mentioned. He can help you if you're not sure where to start with that. Understand our payment terms. When do we pay, on what milestones, what dates, those sorts of things. And again, make sure that you have sought advice to understand that your business can cope with those sorts of payment terms. Ask us to clarify, ask us questions. We will have a schedule that we need to keep to, and we will be trying to get things done. But at the end of the day, you need to be comfortable and confident of the business arrangement that you're entering into. So please make sure that you ask questions if you are uncertain of anything that you're being told by the project. It's important in that space also to make sure that you have a contract or purchase order in your hand before you do any work for the project. You may have done some work for the project and somebody might want you to do more. Make sure that you've got the right tools, i.e. a contract or a purchase order, before you do work for the project. It's important that you're easy to administer. We're a big project. There's going to be lots of things moving, lots of parts. Make sure that you've got systems and processes in place so that you can deal with the requirements of your contract, that you can issue the documents that you need to issue to the project, and that you can process the documents that the project will issue to you. So be easy to administer. And support Indigenous participation outcomes. As I said at the beginning, and part of what we're doing, Indigenous businesses are important to us as a project, making sure that we're an inclusive project and that we deal with businesses who also see Indigenous participation as important is an aim and an outcome that we're looking for as part of the project. So pre-qualification, there's a number of steps to pre-qualify. So pre-qualification is a step in the purchasing process, and it's important to note that SecureEnergy will only deal with pre-qualified suppliers. If you're going to be included on a bidders list, you'll be subject to a form of pre-qualification exercise, and that pre-qualification exercise will depend on the size of the package and what's going on in the project. But you'll need to be able to determine, the process will determine if the proposed party has sufficient capability, capacity and financial strength to undertake the work. Suppliers must have the capability that covers off health, safety and environment, quality and environmental management plans. So if you're thinking that this is something that you could get on the back of and participate in, you need to make sure that you've got a health, safety, environment plan, a quality plan and an environment management plan. So they're things that you could work towards. As a project that comes under the Australian Industry Participation Plan, we also expect that our suppliers and subcontractors will be able to adhere to the standards associated with the Commonwealth Indigenous Participation Plan and the Modern Slavery Act of 2018. So you need to make sure that you're aware of those and see how they impact on your business. Once you get through the initial pre-qualification process, I just remind you that that doesn't guarantee you of work. Okay, so the pre-qualification process gets you onto a bidders list so that we know that we're dealing with companies that have the capability and capacity to be able to work with us going forward. So how do you pre-qualify? What do you need to do? So as Jeff went through earlier, you need to register on the ICN Gateway. Now there's a free option when you register on the ICN Gateway, so make sure that you select that one. And you'll be able to then have access to EOIs and those sorts of things as we put them up. Keep an eye out for EOIs. Make sure that you register for relevant packages that you feel may suit your business and respond to the expression of interest. The local industry participation and Indigenous participation team will be able to talk to people and we'll be around to answer questions, but we can't help you with the pre-qualification because of competition law constraints. Okay, so we can answer simple questions, but no, we won't be able to actually help you complete your pre-qualification process. But Jeff from ICN and others that you'll see through the course of dealing with the project will be able to offer you assistance. After the ICN aggregates the information for the packages and they close, as Jeff said, the information then gets sent to us. We'll go through that information and we'll issue pre-qualification forms as required. We'll provide advice as required, and the supplier who wants to continue on with us will respond and complete the pre-qualification form and submit it through to SecureEnergy. As I said several times now, we will provide supplier feedback. There's lots of approvals and things that we need to do to communicate with you, but we have made a commitment that we will be able to talk to you about where your pre-qualification gaps may be, what development might be required, and as Jeff spoke about, we've got opportunities with EnergyConnect to help and support businesses be able to become more able to compete in this space. Or if you're the right type of supplier and you answer all the questions, then you can go straight into procurement panels, and you may be picked up by procurement, and they will then take you through for a Felix, which is our procurement process system pre-qualification. It's worth noting that the pre-qualification forms that you'll be issued are a self-assessment there for you guys to complete so that we can understand your business and how your business is positioned. Unsolicited pre-qualification, so just cold emailed supplier statements or capability statements that are just sent through that don't come through the pre-qualification process won't be dealt with. Okay, so if you want to deal with SecureEnergy, then please register on ICN and deal with us through the ICN Gateway. What can you expect? So as I said, there's the pre-qualification process. Then you'll go and you'll be put on to a bidders panel. You'll get to see the more detailed scope of work and go through a tender process. You'll then have an evaluation of the tender responses. There'll be an award process to the selected tenderer, and then you'll get on and do the work. It is a large project. There's lots of different moving pieces. There will be tenders and contracts that are subject to the performance of other tenders and other contracts. So do be aware that the timing for each of these steps and each of the processes may be different as the project goes on. Some of these processes could be completed as quickly as weeks, but some of them, depending on what interdependencies there are across the packages, they may take some time, up to months, depending. So again, it's a consideration that you need to have as to your business's capability and how you want to deal with the project. So how can you contact us? What can you find out? So as I said, the SecureEnergy website, it's new. It should be up and running tomorrow. So secureenergyjv.com.au. And from there, you'll be able to find information on how to get to the ICN Gateway. We've got a user's guide up there. There'll be a SecureEnergy supplier information guide. And shortly, we should have the pre-qualification forms up, a long form and a short form, so that if you're directed to get to the next stage, you'll need to finish those pre-qualification forms. So if you've got other questions or other pieces of information, there's some contact details there to be able to reach out to the project, and you'll be able to, as I said, find information on the SecureEnergy website. All right, we might have a look now and see if we've got any questions that the moderator hasn't been able to resolve for us.
Thanks, Adrian. We've had a question. We haven't had very many questions, I've got to say, I admit. One of the questions has been, is the presentations or the slide, copy of the presentations or the slides, will they be made available? We are recording the sessions, so we did one this morning, this one, and one tomorrow. All the sessions are actually the same from a presentation perspective, but we have been recording, and those recordings will be made available probably by the end of the week on our SecureEnergy webpage, but I believe they'll also be available on the RDA web pages as well, and the Mildura development webpage, and perhaps the ICN webpage. So if you really wanted to have a look at the recordings again, please just go to those areas and download them. We've got another question here that I couldn't answer. So does SecureEnergy need the tower supplier to perform the design and detailing, or would these portions be done by SecureEnergy, and would we only get the manufacturing according to the shop drawings provided?
That's a good question. Ben, would you be able to step in on that one?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Ben. I'm the local industry advisor. We've been working quite a bit over this last year on the tower steel packages and also around the design packages. Obviously, that's a very specialised question there in terms of where we're specifically at. Could I ask that question comes to us directly, and we'll actually get a formal response back to you about where that is at the moment. But at the moment, we're just finalising the steel prices on the market. So yeah, please, we'll come back to you on that question.
Thank you.
We've got one from Holbrook Earth Moving. Can you provide an overview of what type and scale of services you are asking for?
So in response to that, if you keep an eye on the ICN, the expression of interest, when we get to those, there's a number of different packages that include clearing and earthworks. So you'll need to just keep an eye on the ICN Gateway, and those expressions of interest will come up over the course of the next 6 months or so as those works ramp up.
We didn't have any other questions, but we might go through some of the questions that came out, which I think are probably relevant for people on this call this morning. So one of the questions was, does each package need to be pre-qualified for separately?
So no, each package doesn't need to be pre-qualified for separately. Once you've responded to an expression of interest and you complete the information that we require, once you get through that process, you'll then be available to the procurement team to be able to be put onto the various tender lists for similar packages.
And then there was a couple of questions this morning around sort of how we're going to construct the project. So just for those on the line, so at the moment, the project is still undergoing what we call an environmental impact statement. And that impact statement has been done in 2 separate portions, one for the western side of the alignment and one for the eastern side of the alignment. The western side is far more advanced than the eastern side. So when someone asks us where we would start our construction on the western corridor. And then once we got approval to proceed to the eastern, then we would start the eastern. So once we have all our EIS approvals sort of ticked off, we would be constructing EnergyConnect on a number of fronts. So there would be a number of camps along the 700-kilometre alignment. I've lost track of how many. I think it's 6 or 7 now. And along with those camps, so the working areas, there'd be 6 or 7 working areas with adjacent camps next to those working areas. Another question this morning was, are we FIFOing, flying in, flying out our workers? Well, it's a mix. We'll be flying in, flying out our workers to campsites. We'll be driving them in and driving them out. But obviously, one of our big objectives is to get as many local people as we can for the project. So hopefully we'll get some locals as well that will work on the project. What other questions did we have this morning? If anyone else has got a question, I see 2 new ones. Let me just pop in. So this is from Kelly from Squad Employment and Training. Hi, we are a group training organisation that would like to assist with apprentices and trainees for the project. What is the best way for our organisation to connect with either the head contractor or other contractors that win tenders? Ben, do you want to cover that one?
Thanks, Ben.
Sorry, guys, I was just on mute there.
Just about RTOs.
Yeah, look, one of the things, the training package is just being confirmed with the human resources team at the moment. On the schedule, that package will probably go out onto ICN within the next month. So I would just keep, but there is a particular package called training services. And like I said, that will be coming out probably within the next month. And just stay tuned on ICN for that one.
And Jeff, we've got a question for you. Just about ICN, how do we find this? Is there an app or a website? Can you just tell everybody how? Yep.
Absolutely. There is a website that you'll go to. If you check in the post in the chat section there, you'll note that I have put the URL in there. That'll take you directly to the ICN Gateway page for the work packages.
Thank you. Let me see. Anyone else has got questions? Throw them up. Do we know what plant and equipment will be required?
So there'll be, there's a number of different packages of plant and equipment. In the unbundling process, those packages are being reviewed at the moment, and the requirement of equipment is being extracted, I suppose, from the individual work packages. So we should see, as per the timeline that I put up earlier, we should be able to see some of those coming out towards the end of, there we are, towards the end of this year and early next year.
Okay, so key message, keep an eye out on ICN.
But yeah, sorry, also there is an open package at the moment for plant as well, which lists some of the requirements, but Adrian's quite correct. The final plant strategy is just being finalised at the moment. So go on to ICN now and register on that plant EOI.
Yep. There's also, I suppose, it's worth noting that, and I didn't mention it, I'm sorry, but there is the general expression of interest of capabilities. So there is a general EOI that we are running on ICN. So that is somewhere that you can go and make sure that you've put your details in so that we have access and we can see your particular business in our in our list of suppliers.
Is traffic control required for all sites?
It will be required, but again, it'll be in various pieces across a number of packages. And so again, it'll be the sort of package where if you register on ICN and get your details in, we'll look to make sure that the head contractors can see those suppliers that are available.
Does anybody else have any more questions? We've still got a bit of time up our sleeves. Is anyone who can unmute themselves would like to ask a question?
No, doesn't look like it.
Yours.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to understand a little bit more about our project. As I said, there's lots of contact details. Keep an eye out for the SecureEnergy website when it becomes available. You'll be able to find Mark Cunningham's and my contact details on there, but also make sure that you reach out to Jeff at ICN and get your information recorded so that we can get information out to you as it comes to hand. So thank you very much.
Well, hang on. I think I've just got another question. Oh, no, it's a thank you. Much appreciated from Squad Employment and Training from Kelly. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you attending this evening.
Cheerio.